I don't have a gavel here, so I'm just gonna use. Okay, we're calling this special meeting to order. All the board members are present. And so let's just move into our action items. 2.1, discussion and possible action regarding the advisory committee for the chancellor search firm selection process, including the appointment of members.
So are we first going to?
Wait 1 second, Maria. We're going to let Jeff put the list up.
Okay.
Okay, so hopefully you can see it. I just shared the list. It has the people who were previously approved. There were two additional recommended members. One is Caitlin Shineberry, who's a senior director for human resources at the Banner University Health Medical Center. And the other suggestion was Charlotte Fugit, who served for many years as the head of HR for Pima College.
Jeff, I have a question. Tracy Newcombs, I believe that in the last meeting I stated that he should not be appointed.
That's true, but the board voted, and at least as I understood the vote, all the recommended people at that time were approved.
Can I make a statement, or is it wrong to say it? I don't want to violate any policies.
Well, you mentioned your reasons last meeting, Maria, for not wanting that person on. And so I think what happened in our last meeting was that we decided, I think we voted on it unanimously to go with this, with the inclusion of these other people to have a larger breadth of knowledge and experience. And even though, you did mention things that were concerning to you, the fact that there are more people on the committee now, I think it might be, I think that with more people on the committee, I don't think we'll have to worry about your concern, if that sounds reasonable to you.
It does.
Okay. Is there a motion then to accept these two other people?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and then we'll just raise your hand in your picture, except for Luis, and you'll have to say a verbal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so I saw 4 hands and I heard Luis, so the motion passes unanimously for these 6 people to be on the selection committee to select the company that will help us figure out the people we want to interview and ultimately hire our new chancellor. Okay, moving.
What's that noise? Sounds like a train or something, like a car.
Uh-oh.
Okay, moving on to item 2.2, and I lost the, let me just go to my agenda. Section 2.2, discussion and possible action regarding the advisory committee for the chancellor search, including appointment of members. And so, Jeff Sylvan, you're going to share your screen again with us. Oh, it's there.
Hopefully
Thank
it's
you.
sharing. So there should be a new list up. That one has the individuals who were approved the last time this topic was discussed. And then below it, there are, let's see. So in the first time, there's 10 people who were approved. There are another 8 who've been recommended. Those are below the heading additional potential members with, for the ones who are outside of Pima, a little bit of background. So all of those can be considered by the board. And then, of course, if there's others that the board members wanted to discuss as well, now would be the appropriate time.
I
Okay.
had, go ahead, Maria.
No, go ahead.
I had an email earlier today from a college employee, and he asked me to put a member from each of the labor union groups on this committee also. So there would be union representation on the committee. I know that there is some concern that we don't want to have too many employees from the college, but I have a couple of reasons. I've been thinking really quickly about this. I think that right now there are only 3 of the 18, so that's 16%. I think my math might be, I don't know if that's right or not, I know. But anyway, I think that, by putting 3 more people from each of the unions, unions work for workers' rights, and they have that orientation, not just for union members' rights, but they work for all employees and all employee groups. And I think it would be good to have that perspective on this selection committee to make sure that we don't get some anti-union person or someone who's willing to cause harm to these groups that do so much. I was mentioning it to Jeff earlier in a prior meeting that if you look at the membership on AERC, for example, there are many union members on that committee. And, I just think it would be prudent to have those voices on. There are 5 or more people from the business community. So I think to have a few more representatives from the employee groups at the college might be a good thing.
I would agree with that.
Do you have those names, Teresa, that we could add them to that list?
I don't, because I think that it could be the leads of the unions, right? So Michaela Hayes for the PCCEA, for ACES, I believe it is Jason Brown, and for ASME, it's Ricky Gonzalez, or their appointee if they are already, like Michaela does so much. I don't know if she wants to be on another committee, but I would say, somebody from the leadership of those organizations. So
is that something, do we need to vote like on these now and then on additional ones the next time we're together if we don't have those names yet? Because we had some slots before, but we were waiting for names to be nominated, right? So maybe we just keep adding to the list as we go along.
Well, I think what we could do is we could say, if it's okay, let's move forward saying these people written on the list, including the additional recommendations from Santa Cruz. And Greg, thanks for thinking big picture, because I think that that's really, really important. So thanks for including them. And then Michael Guyman from the Tucson Metro Chamber of Commerce. So I will make a motion saying let's accept the list as is, and 3 representatives, 1 from each of the union groups, their names to be approved by us at our next meeting. We're having another special meeting in, I think it's November 6th on Monday. So maybe we could include that in our agenda so we are following open meeting laws and all of that. Maria?
Yes, you guys, one of the recommendations is Nick Richmond. I don't think it would be prudent to have her on the list. And then the other thing that I request is that, okay, so you've asked for people from the unions to be that's good. And we have a lot of people from the business community that are going to be representing the business. So then my next question is, who are we gonna select, if any, from the community? For example, I don't see anybody from the Urban League. I don't see anybody from Chicanos por la Causa. And I think that if we want to be inclusive and give everybody an opportunity to participate, that we should at least see if any members of those organizations want to participate. Otherwise, the list is pretty good.
So originally, I agree with you, Maria. Originally, when we were talking about this, it is coming to my memory that we said we wanted to limit it to a manageable group, under, a dozen. We're already up to 18, so now we're up to 21. But remember, we are also going to have open forums where we're going to have community members come and join us to have their input. So we will have other opportunities, and we should make sure that we invite all of those groups so that they're part of talking to the candidates, asking their questions, all of that.
Then I have one more question for Luis. One of the representatives is from the Pasco Yaqui tribe, Serena Preciado.
Correct.
Can you tell me anything about her?
Well, she's been the education director for the last 3 or 4 years now, and she's pretty much even. I know that Pima is working with a lot of the programs through Pima, except with it, especially with the workforce development. We have 2 components with workforce development, and I think it's good. And she's good. I talked to her briefly as well too, and told her that she was on the list to be considered, and was passed the last time as well. She's good.
Okay.
So I made a motion to approve this list of people as written in its entirety, and then 3 placeholders, 1 from each of our union groups, with their names to be voted on the November 6th meeting as another item an action item in that meeting. Is there a second?
I want to amend the motion.
Okay, so
Nick
Lee
Richmond
seconded it, and Maria, tell me your amendment.
My amendment would be to remove Nick Richmond from the list.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Luis, are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that as well.
Okay, so the motion as it stands now is the list that we have before us minus Nick Richmond, and then including 3 placeholders for the leadership from each of the Pima College union groups, AFSCME, ACES, and PCCEA.
So question,
Any
for that, in the slot that Dr. Richmond was in, wasn't that the one that the PCC administration sort of self-selected, so that's who they chose to represent the administration, or how did that come to pass? I'm just curious, because if the administration wants Nick to be that person, I personally don't have a problem with that, unless I just don't know where that selection came from. I'm curious about that.
So I can answer that. So in the original motion, it seemed that the board agreed that each of the sort of groups identified should have a representative. One was administration. We did an anonymous, we asked for volunteers. There was an anonymous vote taken of the ELT, and Nick was the top vote getter. So that's how her name got on this list. So that was, I guess, the clarifying question about Ms. Garcia's amendment was whether it was particular to Nick, or whether the intent was to not have an administration representative on the committee.
I would accept an administrative person for the committee. I just don't think that Nick Richmond should be that person. I mean, she already has enough.
Jeff, were there other people that were interested before you did the
So there were two people who volunteered. I said there was a vote taken. Nick was the highest vote getter.
Okay. So is it okay to ask who the second person was if they volunteered and they got the second largest number of votes?
I guess. I mean, so the two candidates were Nick Richmond and Irene Robles Lopez.
And I would accept Irene Lopez Robles.
Okay, Greg, is that all right with you?
I I guess I have a problem with telling the administration who their representative should be. So if they want Nick Richmond to be it, I'm fine. I mean, I'm okay with us passing the slate without. I mean, I'll vote for it, and then I can move to just add Nick, and then we can have a vote on Nick. But for at least for my purpose, I mean, I respect Maria's opposition. Maria, I do. I've in this category, I feel like this is the person that's representing the administration on that committee, and I'm perfectly fine with them choosing who they want to represent them.
We're not asking any other employee group to give us two candidates or three candidates that we want to select from. So I'm with Greg. I think if that group selected this person, unless we're going to go through and second guess all the other groups' selection, then we should accept their recommendation.
Well, so my opinion about this is that in the past, you guys were not on the board. We had a lot of data that wasn't correct. So being that there's some personal issues that are going on, I just don't feel that she should take on additional responsibilities. It's not that I'm against her. It's just that I think that it's giving her way too much. And I don't think that she's gonna be able to be effective. That's all.
Well, I think that's her decision.
You know? That's okay.
Yeah.
I'll go agree with Greg's recommendation.
Okay, so let's go once more back to the original motion. The list as it's printed with 3 spaces for one of the leaders from each of the college's union groups, AFSCME, ACES, and PCCEA, and then we will vote on those names. Well, actually, I'm gonna say if the union decides who to put in, just like the administrators decided who to put in, we'll be okay with the leadership choosing their own member to fill those slots. So I'm withdrawing my original motion, making the new motion, the list as it's printed, and then one leader from each of the union groups, AFSCME, ACES, and PCCEA, to be determined by their leadership. Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand, and Luis, say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes
Congratulations.
unanimously. Okay, then, do I have a motion to move to executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so at this point, we're leaving this meeting, so you'll leave and then click on that last link that Andrea gave us to go into a private Zoom meeting. See you there.